Right then, here is my 7,000 kilometer review of the Rapha Pro Thermal Bibshorts. Just to let you know, this is the second pair of these I've had. The first pair I bought was in December 2015. I wore those all the way through winter until about March 2016, so last year's winter. But those ones I had completely died, like hardcore died. Like they just completely fell apart. All the seams came out. The thread that attaches the pad inside just came apart. The material perished, very much like the leg warmers. The top surface just sort of shredded up. Absolute rubbish. So I took those back and I actually got another pair given to me, which are these ones. But by the time I got those given to me, it was too hot to wear them. So these have been sat in my wardrobe until December 2016. And then I started wearing these ones again. And I've worn these all the way through winter. So let's talk about the fit first then. The fit is absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's even better than the Pro lightweight ones. Like the angle of all the paneling is just completely perfect. It fits really nicely all around your body. It holds around the top of your legs, holds on the inside here. Around the waist is fine. On the back, it's really, really snug and really tight. Across the shoulders, you can't see it in this video, but the straps are just about right. They're not too tight, they're not too loose. They're a nice width as well. In terms of fit, these things are they're spot on. I've never worn any shorts that are better. The pad, when you're actually riding, it feels quite thick when you get it. It's thicker than the lightweight ones. And it's thicker than pretty much every other cycling short I've ever worn. When I first put them on, I thought, yeah, that's quite thick. But when you're on the bike, it doesn't seem to feel like there's too much material between your taint and the saddle. Getting them on, I found you have to sort of quickly adopt a technique or I feel you're going to rip them. This panel here, this side panel, is quite a lot thinner or feels a bit more delicate than this front panel here. My technique would be to sort of put them onto my legs and then pull from this part here. If you pull from this part here, I think you're going to rip them. Let's talk about the construction then in a bit of detail. They're a bit longer on the leg than the lightweight ones. This gives a bit of extra material for when it's really cold, I guess. The material itself is thicker and heavier than the Pro lightweight ones as well. The front section sits about the same height, but the rear goes up quite high. So it feels like, you know, you've got quite a lot of material on your back. They seem to have used a variety of different materials for each section. Like this front panel here is quite thick and underneath is quite thick, but the sides are a little bit thinner so it doesn't hinder movement, and actually they've managed to keep it quite tight as well. The straps are of a thicker material, but they still have a little bit of flexibility there, a bit of mesh. The actual stitching is quite a lot more sturdy than the Pro lightweight ones. In terms of practical use then, these things have done their job properly throughout winter. I haven't felt cold in them. There was one time a couple of weeks ago where I got stuck in a mountain. I shouldn't have gone up there. That was my own fault. I think I came quite close to dying. That was messed up. I went up this mountain. The east side of it was all sunny and nice. I got about 1,200 meters up, and then I went over the peak. And then on the west side, which was opposite to where the sun was, it was just snow, frozen, no sun hell, like minus degrees. And I had just these on and this base layer, a jersey and a vest, and that was it. And I was in pretty serious trouble there. I managed to get off the mountain all right. During that whole time though, my legs were sort of all right. My upper body, where I didn't have these shorts covering, was just suffering very, very badly, and I was shaking like hell. When you're riding on the bike, just like the other Rapha Pro shorts, the fitting's good in whatever position you're sitting in. The pad on these ones though feels a little bit sort of further back. Pro lightweight ones seems to sort of sit forward. The edge of the pad sits just on the edge of your junk, right? If you're a man. I think they could have put it slightly forward a bit, but again, that's probably just my anatomy, you know? Everyone's different, right? In terms of how it does its job, it has kept me warm all winter. Now let's look at how they've made it in detail, and now let's look at what's happened to it after 7,000 kilometers of riding hard throughout the whole of winter. Let's see how it's lasted, right? All right, in terms of the construction then, we'll just start at the bottom leg and work our way round. This is the band that goes around the bottom of your leg. The stitching's pretty good, as you can see. It's quite sturdy. On the inside, they've got these grippers, which are sort of glued onto the fabric. They go all the way around the band. This logo are not particularly excellent. They sort of scuff up on the edge and crack over time. So you've got the band here, and then the next band goes around the bottom of your quad. On the inside, you can see that the material is actually quite fluffy and thick. That's good. So that shows that it's nice and thermal. This outer panel, the one that sits on the outer edge of your thigh, is quite thin when it gets pulled open, and you can see that when you pull it on. When you look down your leg, you can see this sort of grey shimmer. This is direction this way, so it sits horizontal across your thigh. Then the inner thigh material is slightly different. It's slightly thicker. On the inside, both of these materials have the same sort of fluffy thermal nature. When I ride these, I don't notice any difference between the inner and outer in terms of how warm they keep me. So I think this outer directional stretch is just for fit. Like all Rapha stuff, on the back it's got something for your name. This is just a fashion thing, I think. Nobody fills this out, do they? The pad then is really thick. You can see me pushing down with my finger here. It's really thick. It's stitched on quite well to the main material section. It's got a Rapha embossed logo. I'm sure they paid Cytec some money to do that. This is the inside leg of the shorts then. So the seam goes all the way down the middle, right on your inseam. Some people have criticised this, me included, because I thought that this area has the potential to be rubbing on your top tube, or your legs rubbing together if you're really, really fat, and the stitching coming out. The strap material, you can see here, is a sort of mesh, and on the top of the strap, you've got this trademark Rapha horizontal line. So in terms of construction, that's about it, really. Overall, these shorts are more sturdy than the Pro lightweight ones. The stitching is far more substantial. The material itself is, of a thermal nature. The pad's thicker. So now, the moment you've all been waiting for, over 7,000 kilometers. What's gone wrong with these shorts? Well, as I said before, the first pair I had just completely fell apart. This inner seam just came out. The thread here came apart. This thread came out here. The part where the pad is sewn on just fell out, like long threads came out, and then the pad was actually separating from the main body on the inside. Absolute rubbish. Now, these ones, right, I've had a good look over these. I've checked out all the threads, gone round the entire thing. Now, I'm not going to bore you and do that on the video, but please trust me. I've checked out every thread on these shorts all the way round. None of the threads have come out. None of the threads, right? Every thread has been completely perfect on the inside and the outside, okay? Even the thread that sits right under your groin, that sits onto your saddle, is still perfect. None of the threads have come out. After 7,000 kilometers, these ones have been perfect in terms of thread, which I'm actually really shocked about. Next, let's look at the state of the material. On the Pro lightweight ones, the material has a tendency to just perish with the different sections turning different colours. The outer section going a sort of light blue, the inner section taking on a sort of green hue. I put these on and I got a torch out and I was shining a torch all over them. The material is still okay. I can see a very slight change in colour between the inner and outer section of the leg, but not to the point where it would concern me after 7,000 kilometers. What about wear and tear then? Now, the main area of wear on shorts, of course, is where you sit on the seat. There's a little bit of shininess there, but again, I think that's acceptable for 7,000 kilometers, really. They're not showing any sign of wearing out. There's no real sort of scuffing or anything. Nothing's going thin. There's a little bit there, but nothing really. I think that's all right for 7,000 kilometers. So yeah, believe it or not, these things have actually lasted and are continuing to last. And it's got to April now and the weather's heating up a little bit. I think for the first time in my entire career with using Rapha stuff, I'm going to put these away in my wardrobe and I'm going to get them out in December 2017 and start wearing them again and then see how long they last. They've been all right, which is fucking incredible. And I'm actually quite shocked. The big question then is, do I recommend these? I'm in a bit of a quandary here because the first pair of these I had completely fell apart, like ridiculously fell apart. However, these ones have been, I'm going to say, perfect. It's a bit of a 50-50 really. If you buy a pair of these and they perform like these ones have that I've got in front of me here, I'm going to say, yes, I definitely recommend these. because in terms of fit, in terms of how they keep you warm, and in terms of how they last, these things have been spot on. If you're unlucky enough to get a pair of shorts like my first pair and they completely fall apart, then absolutely no, I don't recommend them. I don't know whether the previous version were a different batch, whether they have changed the design. I realise that's not a definitive answer. So there you go, that's my review. The jury is out, but these ones have been perfect. There you go.